boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Insights into the mind of Amanda Serrano and what she means to do beyond the upcoming Katie Taylor trilogy. She said, "I'm feeling great now. I still own titles at my natural weight of 126. I came up 2 divisions to fight Katie and then 3 for the rematch in the trilogy. After this win, I'll go back to my own weight class."
So she's not gonna retire?
Not right away. Not based on that. She still holds the WBA title at featherweight and the WBO title at featherweight. The other 2, Tiara Brown's got the WBC, Germany's own Nina Menka has the IBF. That's the same Nina Menka that Amanda Serrano was supposed to fight in a homecoming fight on her native island of Puerto Rico. Perhaps she means to revisit that fight, except this time it'll be a unification match and not just a ho-hum title defense.
That's a steep drop from 140 all the way back down to 126. I half expected Amanda Serrano's next fight, beyond the Katie Taylor fight, win or lose, to be against Stephanie Hahn at 135, because it's not as steep a drop.
I half expected
For it to be either Stephanie Hahn or the winner of Stephanie Hahn versus Holly Holm. Theoretically, if that fight were to be made, I expected Amanda to potentially face the winner and cap off her career picking up another alphabet title. As it stands, and according to Amanda, she'll go back down to feather after the Taylor trilogy, and I believe that is a win or lose kind of situation.
Nina seems the logical choice for Amanda in that situation. Tiara's there, but
I feel like because they already made the Nina Menka fight, making it again would be relatively easy. I think that Nina would be up for it. I think that Amanda would be up for it. Tiara
won that belt from Sky Nicholson in her last fight. Oddly enough, Sky's the one that's got a fight coming up. She's got a fight coming up next weekend.
Where's Tiara?
I don't know. She didn't want to give Sky Nicholson a rematch. I felt that she should, because Sky's probably the only fighter interested in fighting her.
The only fighter worth any money. In Tiara's mind, she may think she's giving Sky Nicholson a taste of her own medicine when all she's really doing is shortchanging herself of an opportunity, because who else wants to fight Tiara?
Since she won that title, I don't imagine she's gotten a whole heap of offers.
But go ahead.
Back over to Amanda, who means to return to her natural weight class of 126 pounds after the Taylor trilogy, win or lose. Either way, I don't expect Amanda to be in the sport much longer. I still feel like this will be her final year in boxing.
She's going back down to feather. Maybe it's for one more fight, a swan song, a farewell.
The money she's already made, there's not much reason to stick around, and as accomplished as she is, there ain't much else to do. She's already been a champion at 7 weights and undisputed in at least 1.
If she beats Katie, that makes 2.
And even if she doesn't, she's still one of the most accomplished fighters the sport has ever seen, to where there's not much reason to stick around, and the money that she will have made from that trilogy,
that too.
See how she makes out next month when she faces Katie Taylor for the 3rd time, and what happens after that? Men's cruiserweight news: negotiations for Jai Opetaia versus Zurdo Ramirez to begin in coming weeks. Jai Opetaia has reiterated his desire to face Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez in a cruiserweight unification title clash after the Mexican retained his WBA and WBO titles against Uniel Dorticos on Saturday in Anaheim. Opetaia 28-0 with 22 KOs. The ring and IBF champion is coming off of 2 easy knockout wins over David Naika and Claudio Sequeiro earlier this year, but he has consistently called for a shot at fellow champion Ramirez. After Ramirez's unanimous decision win over Dorticos on the Jake Paul vs. Chavez card at the Honda Center in Southern California, he partook in a brief face-off with Paul, 12-1 with 7 knockouts, at the post-fight press conference. Jake Paul is expected to earn a top 15 ranking from the WBA following his points win over Chavez, making him eligible to challenge Ramirez, 48-1 with 30 knockouts, for his titles. Opetaia, however, is already looking to do everything in his power to secure a fight with Ramirez first. Via a statement, Opetaia said, "I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I'm the best cruiserweight on the planet. Ramirez put on a good performance against Dorticos, but if he really believes he's number 1, then there's only one way to prove it. I'm sick of all the excuses and the delays. None of these other champions have been in a hurry to face me, but the time has come. Let's unify the division once and for all. I respect what Ramirez has accomplished, but I know I'm on another level. I've beaten world-class fighters, I've defended my titles, and I'm ready to collect more belts. If Ramirez has the courage to step up, I'll show the world why I'm the real champion. Opetaia's manager, Mick Francis, also confirmed via press release that negotiations for a fight with Ramirez would begin in the coming weeks. The time for talk is over, he added. Jai is the true lineal champion and the most dangerous cruiserweight in the world. We have nothing but respect for Ramirez and what he has achieved, but this is the fight that boxing needs. I have complete faith that Ramirez will do the right thing and accept this challenge. The fans deserve to see the best against the best.
We often talk about this fight from the business side of it and why it may not happen. Even if Zurdo Ramirez himself likes his chances against Jai Opetaia, that doesn't mean that Oscar does.
Not when he has other options on the table, like maybe Jake Paul, if Jake Paul is actually willing to fight Zurdo. I don't think he is.
But with the WBA giving Jake Paul a top 15 ranking, you never know.
There is also the potentiality of a David Benavidez fight. They've been talking about moving up to fight Zurdo since November of last year. There is also that. But we're going to shift the focus this time, and we're going to have this conversation on the premise that negotiations will begin in a few weeks, that Turkey LL Sheik makes it happen.
Remember that he's planning a big show for November, and that the headline fight is supposed to be Devin Haney versus Brian Norman.
So what if he tries to make this fight for that show on that undercard? Let's have this conversation on the premise that it actually happens. Who wins?
This fight is tougher to edge than it looks on the surface.
One thing you need to understand is that Zurdo may be relatively new to the cruiserweight division, but he has more experience than Jai, more experience overall, and in a short while, he's arguably amassed a more credible cruiserweight resume than Jai,
What?
with more names on it.
What?
Crown jewel of Jai Opetaia's resume are his 2 victories over Mayris Briedis, but we can all agree that that was a Mayris Briedis who was well past his prime, and in the second fight, he hadn't fought in a long while, but that's the best name on Jai Opetaia's resume. Now you compare that to Zurdo, who's fought not 1, but 2 champions at this weight, and a former champion in Uniel Dorticos. He fought Chris Billum Smith, he fought unbeaten Arsene Goulamarian, he fought a former champion in Uniel Dorticos. To Jai Opetaia, whose only real credible opponent was Mayris Briedis, and Mayris Briedis was in fact past his prime and inactive going into the second fight. This fight between Jai and Zurdo is actually closer than people think.
Crawford.
So why are so many people convinced that Jai Opetaia is the most dangerous man in the cruiserweight division and that he might plow through Zurdo? It's the optics. It's how Jai is winning his fights versus how Zurdo is winning his. Zurdo's winning his fights through boxing and craftsmanship, ring savvy.
Whereas Jai seems to be winning his fights via brute force because he's just so explosive and so much stronger than these guys.
But who's fighting better fighters fight by fight? Who's fighting better guys in their last few fights? You could argue that that's Zurdo. He fought 2 champions and a former champion in his last fight. The last guy that he fought, Uniel Dorticos, is a better guy than Jordan Thompson, a better guy than David Naika or Claudio Sequeiro. You could argue that even though Zurdo's not ending his fights as dramatically as Jai, maybe it's because he's fighting better fighters than Jai is.
It's a fascinating fight to analyze.
So, even if you want to give Jai the edge in explosiveness, even if you want to give Jai the edge in power, the edge in experience, has to go to Zurdo. He's got more fights, more rounds in the bank than Jai does. He even has more knockouts than Jai does. It's just none of them were at cruiserweight.
You could give Jai the edge in power, you could give Zurdo the edge in experience.
You could give Jai the edge in athleticism and speed, but you could give Zurdo the edge in cardio and fitness.
What?
Listen, I've seen Jai Opetaia gas out in fights that he was winning, slow down as the fight progresses, whereas Zurdo seemingly gets stronger as a fight progresses.
What?
Remember this, Jai Opetaia has not been the 12-round distance as many times as Zurdo Ramirez. Zurdo is used to that. He's been used to it at 168, at 175, here and now at cruiser. He's used to going the distance, whereas Jai, a lot of these guys, he's knocked them out. So he hasn't had to go the distance as many times.
Not as used to it, so that when he has to, he starts to slow down, starts to gas out.
I'd say that Jai's sweet spot is mid-range to outside, throwing straight punches from the outside coming in. Whereas Zurdo is a little bit more adaptable, and his sweet spot is more mid-range to inside. Within close quarters, Zurdo has the advantage. I do think Zurdo is a better inside fighter than Jai.
In the phone booth he is.
To some extent, the fight that Zurdo had yesterday, with a very big puncher in Uniel Dorticos, could serve as a rehearsal for a Jai Opetaia fight, because the strategy might have to be the same. To diffuse Jai's power, you may have to play him close to the chest, smother him, try to beat him up from the inside out, and don't give him room to throw, because if you do, this is a closer fight than people think. In terms of durability, there's a credible argument on both sides. Jai Opetaia fought with a broken jaw in 2 places, so we know he's durable. Zurdo, he's never been knocked down, not that I've seen, and I know he's never been knocked out.
Not as a super middle, not as a light heavy, not as a cruiser.
Zurdo Ramirez has to try to get inside on Jai Opetaia and beat him from the inside out, whereas Jai Opetaia has to try to catch him coming in. They're both southpaws.
But Zurdo exhibits a lot better movement than most of the guys Jai has fought before. In turn, Jai brings more power and athleticism to the table than anybody Zurdo has fought before, save Dmitry Bivol, who beat him.
This is a closer fight than people give it credit for. It's actually a closer fight than people think. And even if Oscar De La Hoya might be apprehensive about putting Zurdo in there with Jai, Zurdo actually stands a chance.
Does stand a chance.
It is either Jai overpowers him early, within the first 6 rounds, or the fight starts to get away from him if he doesn't after 6 rounds.
And Zurdo takes over.
We'll see if it happens. Elsewhere in the cruiserweight division, Jake Paul calls out cruiserweight champions after dominating Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. The journey of Jake Paul as a professional boxer continued with a points win over Julio Cesar Chavez at the Honda Center in Anaheim. Paul, who has aspirations of becoming a world cruiserweight champion, controlled 80% of the 10-round bout. However, in the last 2 sessions, Chavez Jr. brought the fight to the YouTuber and caught him flush on numerous occasions. It was too little and too late. The 8 rounds beforehand were a dismal effort from the former WBC super middleweight champion. Paul, 12-1 with 7 knockouts, had kept Chavez Jr. 54-7 with 1 draw and 34 knockouts at bay with the jab, and targeted the 39-year-old's body throughout. Paul spent 3/4 of the contest following Chavez Jr. around the ring. In the final 6 minutes, Chavez Jr. unleashed the fight out of him and into the ring, winging hooks and body shots, either whizzed by or landed. Paul's chin and conditioning stood up, though, and deservedly won a decision on all 3 judges' scorecards, responding to a chorus of boos. Inside the venue, during his post-fight interview, Paul said, "Actions speak louder than words. I'm him. I just kicked your boy's ass. He's a tough guy, he's never been stopped, and he's a Mexican warrior. I'm also a warrior." Asked what he thought of his performance, Paul boasted, "It was flawless. I think I only got hit 10 times. All he did was survive, going 10 rounds with a former world champion who's been in with Canelo, and I embarrass him." Paul pledged to stay active and wants to fight again this year. In predictable fashion, he called out a mixed bag of fighters, far more experienced than himself. "I want to be a world champion. Zurdo Ramirez looked slow and shit tonight. I want him. I want Badu Jack. I want Anthony Joshua. I am staying active and fighting everybody." Now, in spite of tooting his own horn, his old buddy Pierce Morgan was not impressed with what he saw, accusing him of killing boxing by fighting all of these old guys, these past prime fighters, Pierce went as far as saying that the whole thing was staged. To that, Paul's right-hand man, Nikisa Badarian, said this claim is baseless and irresponsible. Last night's fight with Chavez was a fully sanctioned 10-round cruiserweight bout officiated by the California State Athletic Commission with official judges. No staging, rigging, just hard work and a legitimate win. To say otherwise is not only undermining the integrity of the sport, but it is defamatory and causes reputational damage to MVP, Jake Paul, and the commission. Enough is enough. We will be exploring all options, including legal action, to hold accountable those spreading such deliberate and harmful lies.
Jake Paul responded by saying, after years of letting it slide as just haters being haters, I've asked my team to vigorously go after anyone who makes up lies about my boxing career. Expect to get served, you pigs.
Now, veteran boxing scribe Mike Kopinger says the guy sued by Eddie Hearn for defamation after claiming judges were bribed. You can't make this stuff up. Also, I'll say, I don't buy for a second that any Jake Paul fights were rigged. He's the better fighter, better than given credit for, and is careful with opponent selection.
To Mike, that's how he's winning. Creative matchmaking.
Julio Cesar Chavez may have fought like a sparring partner yesterday against Jake, but that's not an isolated incident. That's how he fought against Canelo Alvarez years ago. He's basically a heavy bag on legs.
Was that fight rigged?
That Julio losing to Jake really isn't the red flag that some are making it out to be, because this is a guy who lost to Anderson Silva, a retired MMA fighter. So him losing to Jake is not that far-fetched.
We know that some fights are rigged in boxing. It's been that way for years. But do you have to rig a fight to beat Julio?
To beat Tyrone Woodley? Ben Askren?
A 56-year-old Mike Tyson?
Do you have to rig a fight to beat those guys? And if the fights are rigged, then how did Jake lose to Tommy? If the fights are rigged. I'm not arguing on Jake Paul's behalf, I'm just trying to wrap my mind around it. I'm playing devil's advocate because these rumors have been around for a while, and yet Jake did lose to Tommy.
So why didn't they rig that fight?
They want to take legal action against anybody saying this, any public figure, because it is defamatory to the MVP brand and any customers they're trying to attract, that they may be watching a scripted drama more than an actual contest. They're going to start going after people.
Could be staged. That's not outside the realm of possibility. Nothing is. But it could be real. And it could be, well, the only reason Jake is winning these fights is because look at who the opponents are.
Could be that way. Creative matchmaking has long been a tool that people in boxing use to keep their fighters winning. I'd have more reservations about Jake Paul beating a Badu Jack, for example, than him beating a Julio Cesar Chavez. In my mind's eye, him beating Badu Jack would be a lot harder to reconcile. But beating Julio lost to Anderson Silva, for God's sake.